Hello, Cardiac Radio. Today is March 3rd, 2019 at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific, all time zones in between and around the world. Another Sunday night, another program brought to you by Cardiac Radio. Again, I want to remind everybody Cardiac Radio is all about Spiritism, and you can download the app on your iPhone or your Android phone. Just put in Cardiac Radio, 2 words, Kardec, Kardec, and then radio. You can download it for free. You can listen to programs 24 hours a day. Very nice. A lot of more and more people every month are downloading it and listening to us, me, and many other speakers on Cardiac Radio and tuning into Spiritism. Spiritism was brought to you in the 1850s by Allan Kardec. He is the headwaters of the third revelation. He is called the codifier of Spiritism. And what he means by codifier, let me explain that. But first, let me say, on my website, nwspiritism.com, you can click on his picture, and it will take you to the EDI-CEI bookstore, and it will tell you, it will let you order all of his books, also other books by Spiritism, as well as Amazon.com, as well as you can look up his name, Allan Kardec. Type in space PDF on your search engine, and you'll find all of his books on PDF. So I recommend you start with that. If you're interested in Spiritism, read the Spirits book. Now, let me tell you about the Spirits book before we start. The Spirits book is a series of questions that Allan Kardec wanted to ask the spirits. Allan Kardec himself, who he's called the codifier. Oh, hello, Sousa, good evening to you. He's called the codifier of Spiritism. That means he did not speak directly to any spirits, but he found out when Spiritism, the table rapping, that became kind of a fad in the 1850s. He participated in it, then he got interested in it. He said, I'm going to ask him a series of questions. He asked a series in this book, a series of 1,099 questions. And it was very revelatory the answers he got back. And what he did is very organized person. He created a series of questions, and he didn't give them just to one medium. He gave them to multiple mediums in different geographical areas throughout Europe. And he did not use the answers in his book unless 2 or more mediums agreed on what the answers that they psychographed, they wrote down from high spirits, unless they agreed on the message. Therefore, Spiritism, and many people, there's psychics and so forth who will bring, very revelatory, good communications from spirits, but they'll talk to one spirit. Spiritism is a codification from the Spirit of Truth, as promised in the Bible. Is Jesus said he will bring us a consoler, a Spirit of Truth. This is what was organized in the 1850s. That's why Spiritism is called the third revelation. The first revelation being Moses, the second being Jesus himself, and the third is Allan Kardec codifying information brought to us about the spirit world. And what's exciting about Spiritism, what you don't hear from many other places, is it gives us specifics, the processes, why we're on Earth, what happens when we get rid of this physical body, how does karma work? How does the law of affinity work? What is reincarnation? What does reincarnation do for us? All of that is answered in Spiritism. It is so interesting. It was the most important discovery of my life. And if you want to know more about Spiritism, you can also go to my blog site, nwspiritism.com. You can read all sorts of articles. I have a menu talking about reincarnation, destiny, Spiritism itself. You can, on the right-hand navigation bar, I have many books. You can click on, of course, the picture of Allan Kardec, go to the EDI-CEI bookstore, find more books about Spiritism. And it answers so many things, and it makes you more comfortable of why we're on Earth. In a nutshell, we're on Earth to learn. We are in the big campus called Earth. We are here to remove our primitive emotions and to replace them with noble emotions. Faith, charity, honesty, fraternity. We're here to remove our blemishes and to improve them with fortified love into our heart. So And also, in a nutshell, the other one's the Spiritist said, if you want to describe the Spiritist doctrine, it's not a religious doctrine. In a nutshell, it's just follow the golden rule. Do unto others as you'd want them to do unto you. Love everyone. Spiritism tells us so much, and it was very much ahead of its time, too. And there was nothing in there as far as prejudice against certain people. There's no prejudice against homosexuals. Or when they talked about marriage, they said marriage was between two spirits, not necessarily between husband and wife. When Allan Kardec asked them about, what happens when a couple marries and they can't get divorced, the answer was, well, those are your laws. Two spirits who can't stand each other should not stay together, right? Marriage is a union between two spirits who help each other. That is what they said. That was very advanced for the 1850s. The other thing is, people who will read the Bible, they'll read the Bible literally. And what Spiritism tells us is, look, everything from the Old Testament to the New Testament and beyond, when people talk to other psychics and mediums, is we speak to the people who listen to us in the technology and culture of the time. They can't say everything because they could not even grasp us. It's like if we went back in time and, oh, hello, Rosalind, and we tried to tell everyone about a mobile phone. They go, what? So it's the same thing with the spirit world. What the spirits say is the messages of love and peace are eternal. The other things in the Old and New Testament, they are probably information and communication that people could understand at the time. They could, especially think about Jesus in the New Testament. He could not be too advanced. He could not say, love everyone, right? Even if, they go against what you think is right, that doesn't mean they can't be, punished or whatever if they actually commit a crime. But of course, in those old days, what crime was a lot of things that not are in our days, right? We were much more understanding, and everyone's equal. People can do whatever they want to do as far as safety, right, within two spirits, genders, male, female, etc. That is not considered a wrong. What is a wrong is when you take advantage of other people and you lie to other people. And it's, as long as you're a good, decent person, you will arise and ascend to heaven. And what we are talking about here tonight is in my book, How to Live Inner Peace Through Spiritism. And what that is I created this book based on a poem I read in the book Spiritual Wisdom, Mists of Hope by Herculano Pierres and Francisco G. Xavier, also called Chico Xavier. He wrote a very short poem, only 24 verses. The verses were very short, but they really, they place ourselves, it helps to place ourselves in a step-by-step situation into a mental state to achieve inner peace. And inner peace isn't a condition to enjoy for a moment or two on the beach after a few drinks. It's a life quest. It's a multiple life quest. No one's going to be a saint in one life. It's I could be wrong, but I doubt it that, anyone can start from a, very primitive beginning and become a Mother Teresa type person is practically impossible. So someone like Mother Teresa has had many previous lives for her to learn to apprehend the fact that serving others is very important, which brings us to verse 23, the second to the last verse in the poem of the steps to achieve inner peace. And that is courage to place yourself second to serving. I haven't gotten there yet. There's many things I could do. I'm still a bit selfish and, keep things I need to keep. But this is one of the steps, and I'm trying to do better. But again, the verse is courage to place yourself second to serving. Let's think about that for a second. What does that mean? Well, the spirit Andre Luiz states that to achieve harmony and inner peace within yourself, you must possess the fortitude to sacrifice your own desires in the pursuit of helping others. This message is from high spirits via spiritist mediums. They don't demand life in a hair shirt while exclusively tending to the needs of unfortunate people. Only that we examine the situation and at times think about serving first and ourselves second. Doesn't say you have to cut all your hair, turn yourself into a monk or whatever, and give away everything. No, just think about each situation and what you can do, even though it's not what you want to do, and even though it makes you sacrifice a bit. This is a plea, courage to place yourself second to serving, to our altruistic tendencies. Our guardian angels are seeking an acknowledgement that while we understand the need to better ourselves, that alone, while admirable, isn't quite enough. We should also assist others in their spiritual journey through whatever means they may require it. Food, comfort, advice, or shelter. It doesn't mean, as I've said many times, it doesn't mean you have to give them money. It's your time is actually more valuable than anything else. Now let's talk about what that really means and how that works. So this is what I try to do and explain in my book, How to Live Inner Peace Through Spiritism. Spiritism emphatically delivers the message that for every action, there is a reaction, and to each according to their deeds. Now, this is part and parcel with karma, right? For every action, there is a reaction. Karma is real. What we do today determines our life, our next life. What we did yesterday, or I can say what we did in our previous life, our lives, really determine our life today. When you have trials and tribulations, the things you're going through are the reaction of what you did in your previous life, and they are not punishments. They are lessons to be learned. I want everyone to know, because I've had comments, people, say, well, why do you talk about, a place in the lower zone? It seems like a purgatory. God doesn't punish us. And of course, oh, hello, Gabriel. And, you're very welcome. And I keep trying. God does not punish it. Now, it may seem like a punishment because basically we're like the 5-year-old kid that got the slap on the hand or put into the corner to face the wall for a couple minutes because they wrote on the wall or they tried did something very dangerous to themselves. And at that moment in time, when you put that little baby, that little kid in the corner, let them think about these things, is they are crying and they think you are the worst person ever. Of course, that you're helping them become civilized. It is practically the same for the spirit world, for Jesus, who is the governor of our planet and other planets besides. It is about the same for that. It's meaning that we're giving lessons, and these lessons are self-tailored for each one of us. And if you think about the complexity of the spirit world and all the intersections between people, your aunts, your uncles, your family, the people you meet on the street, the people you work with, everyone has their own lesson plan, and everyone's going through trials and tribulations, and everyone you meet are at different stages of their spiritual maturity. That's why this world right now is called a planet of atonement. That meaning it may be a constellation. Yeah. Yes. That's right, Matthew. So that's why we're a planet of atonement. What does that mean, a planet of atonement? A planet of atonement means that we're here to learn from our past mistakes. We are here to atone for our past mistakes. Spiritism does not like to use the word sins. It's wrongful deeds, mistakes, whatever you want to say. It's like a kid missing, a 5 out of 10 on a spelling test. Well, they're going to have to take that spelling test again, or they need more teaching in that spelling test. Same with us. Sometimes we have a very easy, simple lesson, and sometimes that lesson is harder, and that's more of a difficult trial or tribulations. So let's bring this back in the courage to place yourself second to serving. So this process of karma is inescapable. It is what enables us to learn through our mistakes and misdeeds. Without the effects of karma, we could never hope to become a pure spirit one day. And karma is usually used. Oh, Cristiano from Brazil. Karma is usually used in the sentence with negative conditions. Such a person committed a great wrong and will pay for it in this or their next life. But turn this around. A person made a great sacrifice for his or her fellow humans and will reap a reward for it in this or their next life. Remember, karma works both ways. It takes and it gives. No service, however small, goes unrecognized. The blueprint of your next life is built upon the acts of your present life. So let's think about that. The spirit Joanna de Angelis defines karma for us. This is what she says about karma. Karma is the effect of actions taken at different stages of the current existence, as well as those of the past. Fruit of the planted and cultivated tree, karma has the flavor of the species that typifies the plant. Positive acts provide excellent results, rewarding those responsible with happiness, effectivity, lucidity, progress, and new opportunities for moral, spiritual, intellectual, and human growth, promoting society as a whole. But when individuals act with foolishness, vulgarity, perversions, rebelliousness, or hatefulness, they reap suffering down the road in the forms of trial and complex and afflictive expiations meant to set them straight. Karma is an ever-changing process that depends on a person's behavior. Ongoing misery, exasperating mental strictures, dreadful maddening diseases, frustrating physical limitations, suffocating loneliness, embittering misfortunes, all of these could change if individuals only resolve to modify their attitudes, enhancing and developing them for general good and consequently their own. In the sovereign laws of life, no one is destined for a life of misery and misfortune. What happens to individuals is a result of what they did of their own free will. It is never something that God does to them, as the pessimist, the defeatist, and the indolent would state. Therefore, improve your life constantly through positive acts. Create new karmic outcomes, freeing yourself from the painful ones that weigh on your moral economy. Boy, as usual, Joanna Don just says so much. And these are taken from books, psychographed by DeValdo Franco. In fact, in my book, How to Live, I have all these I tell you the quote, they're all footnoted. I have bibliography. You can read, many more books, all the ones that I take information from. So if you want to explore more and more about Spiritism, I give you all the reading materials that hopefully you could want. So the other thing to say is when she says that no one's destined for a life of misery and misfortune, and you've done all this with your own free will. When people ask me, why is the earth, why is it so chaotic? Why are sometimes the good, bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people? And there's always two words that explain everything. It's called free will. The reason good things happen to bad people is those are more tests that they have of what they did in the past. And these are tests giving them, example, okay, you took advantage. Okay, we'll give you wealth again. Did you learn your lesson from other trials? Can you know what to handle with wealth or fame? Are good people? Maybe they did something not very good in their past life. In their current life, they may be trying to act really well, but they're still atoning and learning certain lessons. Those lessons from looking at the outside saying, oh, that poor person, that happened to them. But it's really the best thing that could happen to them because they're learning. And as you are learning, I actually wrote a book called The Problem is the Solution. As you go through these, sometimes very hard trials, you're actually in a good shape because you are learning the lesson you need to learn. So, hence, to supplement your courage, to placing yourself second, gaze upon your idealized future life. That's how I bring placing yourself second to serving, because every time you do that, not only do you spiritually grow, but karma acts upon this, and your next life is going to be better. The more you deem yourself worthy by your acts, the greater the range of existing opportunities that will be open to you in your next life. In numerous spiritual literature, I have read that the reward for any sacrifice for the good will be repaid 100 times over in the spirit world. Well, at first glance, this may seem an obvious attempt to bribe people for good behavior. It's like you give that sticker or that piece of chocolate to the kid, because at the foundation of our character, we should realize that the deed itself is the compensation. Nevertheless, a little part of us responds to the allure of a prize. I know I have been, and this is quite normal. Remember, we, meaning myself, and hopefully, and probably many other people, we are relatively immature spirits, like the 4-year-old who excitedly responds to the bribes of candy. We too can't help but react to the promise of good tidings, like parents who actively train a child through treats to instill a good habit. Without the child's realization of the end game, the spirit realm does the same to us. After all, why not? The allures of self-indulgent behavior is so great, it needs to be counterbalanced by an alternative. In fact, that's one of the things that I've heard, spirits ask and question about is, the rewards, the rewards for doing something wrong, pleasure and wealth, so outweigh, the seemingly rewards in the physical life of doing good. And I've had people ask me about that. It goes, it's so out of balance. And yes, it is. But that also means that we're going through a much harder course. And when we get through this course, we are a much higher, competent, professional spirit who can help other people like us, other planets, even this planet, and we can help other people, the environment, the biology, the whatever type of human race there is, we can help them much better because we've gone through extremely difficult training. So, hence, while we may start out grudgingly giving of ourselves, over time, it becomes a habit with its own intrinsic benefits. Eventually, just like with the children you're training little by little, eventually the vision of far-off riches recede in our memory, and the simple pleasure of a good deed done takes its place. Makes very much sense, doesn't it? This is why the spirit world is, it's Earth is like the spirit world, but not anywhere as good, right? When you think of organizations and management and processes, it's all in the spirit world too. It's not like some of the fuzzy visions of heaven where you're there and you're on the Elysian fields and you're playing a harp in the clouds. No, heaven's organized. It has cities, it has colleges, it has different levels. One goes different levels of colleges to become more and more educated, to become a better spirit. And as you go through the levels of heaven, you have more and more power, because after all, in the spirit world, this is action. Thought is action. It's not in the physical world. We have to build a house. We have to use our hands. We have to use our mind to create the blueprints, create the plans, the architect of the house. No, in the spirit world, groups of people come together and they concentrate their forces and they change universal fluid into different compositions of spirit matter to create homes and other things. It's entirely different. That's why we're here. Why? We're here to learn to control this. This is the only thing important. The physical body is just a temporary casing. So now, let's talk about assistance, right? How do we help people? How do we do a good deed? Let's think about that. In chapter 23, titled Assistance, in the book Thought and Life by the Spirit Emmanuel, psychographed by Chico Xavier, he tells us what service truly entails. So this is the next step. One is why should we do this, right? We're building up karma. We're building up ourselves. We're instilling the habit. Now, let's talk about how do we assist. This is what Emmanuel said in chapter 23 in the book Thought and Life. Assistance, when given freely, reflects the divine nature existing within the human race. Our personality grows in stature and nobility as we yield to the desire of helping others. Design providence is a reservoir of infinite love, always giving and looking for channels of expression to distribute it. Whoever accepts to do so receives with mathematical precision everything they need. It is necessary, however, that we be watchful about the collective thoughts within us so as not to hinder the eternal giving of our Father, who is always ready to share the riches he has bestowed upon us. A look at the principle of electricity shows that there must be a complete circuit for the current to flow and produce its desired work. If there were no positive and negative poles, we would not be able to have electric lighting or motion. By the same principle, spring water to remain pure must have an outlet. Any obstruction means stagnation and disease. The law of assistance permits one to ask for help, but it demands expansion of the benefits received so that the help does not become a hindrance. Blood does not circulate, results in necrosis, a ghastly condition inside the living body. People who know how to handle their basic system, excuse me, People know how to handle their many possessions, giving opportunities of work and education, act like a water reservoir serving the community. They are emissaries of progress, sustained by hope, health, security, and happiness, according to the laws of life. On the other hand, those who accumulate many possessions without using them to improve the community are like a murky swamp alongside the road. Unhappy misers surrounded by anguish and fear, solitude and emptiness, according to the same natural laws. The assistance we receive corresponds to the assistance we offer, and the assistance we give is always followed by greater potential increase, stimulating us to become ever more useful. Remember that when we help our neighbor, we reflect God's blessing working through us. To work discreetly in true service is to reflect God to those around us. Likewise, friends in the spirit world will silently draw near us and give us their total assistance. Help everyone with feeling, thoughtfulness, kind words, and action. By always helping others and constantly improving, we invoke in our favor the complete support from life. Let us not forget, therefore, that the help we offer other people without demand or payment is our silent prayer for divine help that is always answered with the blessing of cooperation and supply. So when they said that help is always given when those want to give assistance, help is given to those who want to give. And I had talked to a lady in Canada, Vancouver, Canada, and she had been helping veterans. She had had a really hard psychic episode, and she couldn't work. But then she spent her time helping veterans get housing and assistance. What happened was, then she told me, yeah. I said, well, where, and then we started talking about something else. She goes, yeah, I've been lucky because, I was given a house on a park that I could live for free. And so that I don't, what it costs to live monthly, so much less. I said, well, think about that. The spirit world set that up for you. You've been helping others. Now, out of the blue, you got the opportunity to live rent-free in a house, just to be inside a park and just to make sure that no one breaks into anything. I said, that is the spirit world assisting you. You are actively being helped by spirits because you are helping others. It happens all the time. Another story. This woman, this man and woman, this husband and wife, were in a line, and this is in Brazil, and they're talking to Chico Xavier, and they said, "Can you help us? Our daughter is just going through terrible, psychic episodes. She's having delusions, etc." And what did Chico tell them to do? He says, "Go help other people anywhere you can. Go help." So they went away. And then I forgot how long, maybe a year or whatever, they came back and they said, "Our daughter's better." And he goes, "Well, what did you do?" And of course he knew, because he reached people blind, but he gives them a chance. He goes, "What we did, we started helping prisoners. And by helping prisoners, then our daughter started getting better." And so what really happened is the fact that this husband and wife were in prisons helping prisoners, and the spirits who were looking after these prisoners, the mothers and the fathers of these prisoners who are now in the spirit world, saw that these two people were helping. Then they went and they saw that their daughter was being attacked, subjugated, right, obsessed by other spirits. These spirits went to them and said, "Please stop doing this. This woman's mother and father are helping our children. Why are you torturing her? Why are you affecting her?" They stopped. So these things happen. These things are real. Another example, when my wife and I received a message from the spirit world in July 2014, we were told to help spread the doctrine of Spiritism to America. In the communication was the statement, "Remember, the aid is in proportion to the task." Now, I can attest to the unseen hand of the spirit realm in rendering assistance, from little serendipitous happenstances to real tangible help. Small things, like when I wrote an article and I needed to quote to back up a statement, the name of the book comes readily to my mind. And more, I open the book and I find the exact passage I desire. Anyone who has written research or term papers knows that hours are usually spent trying to search for the keywords in the pages of the book. Hence, I consider myself blessed to be guided to the words that I had been seeking. Large occurrences, such as money coming to me at the right time, just when I need it, or the fact that my job has been threatened to be eliminated for years, but somehow I always am still employed, free to spend my leisure time for Spiritism. Little and great things all adding up to convey the support that I and everyone who earns it by service to others that is given to us by our spiritual guardians. I cannot stress this enough. But Spiritism is one of the great revelations from Spiritism. And again, I'm just going to say, this is the headwaters. This is really the first thing you want to read. Now, I do recognize that, it's a series of answers and questions. It's just so revelatory, but that's not how everybody learns. That's why I wrote my books, where I took the Case for Reincarnation, where I took books from all sorts of Spiritist books in English, and I kind of made the case by case of what if all these people say, right? Or explore your destiny, about what is heaven like, etc. And then my book, my series of 3 books, Heaven and Below, the Spirits and how they assist us, and the third book is I took all these revelations that was brought to us by the Reverend G. Val Owen in the early 1900s, and I juxtaposed them and I compared them to what the other Spiritist authors, Chico Xavier, Yvonne Pereira, Devaldo Franco, I said Spiritist mediums, say, and then I show more information about what is heaven like, what's the processes like. And in fact, one of the great things about the series of 3 books by the Reverend G. Val Owen, starting with Heaven and Below, is that his revelations really told us. Now, if you read the books by Chico Xavier and others, they tell us, about heaven and so forth, and they tell us how we're helped here on earth. But the books by G. Val Owen kind of go a little bit higher levels of heaven and gives us more of the processes and the procedures of what's life going to be like there. It's very, very interesting. So let me get back to the point, because sometimes I wander off. So right now, So, as I said before, we are really helped, right? So, over other times, the support can appear as a negative. So, just let you know, there's positive help, but then there's sometimes you think that didn't go well. But I tell you, it takes us sometimes, when we're told something by the spirits, it takes us years to figure it out. It's like prophets, when they say, "Well, I think this is going to happen," and then they say, "Oh, you were wrong," but then like 3 years later, it's like, oh, that's how I should interpret it. Same thing happened to us. So if something appears as a negative, you have to really think it through, because it really means you're trying to do something that won't be beneficial in your future. Years ago, my wife and I tried to sell our house. We wanted a newer house since ours was a bit small, not in good condition. We tried to buy several homes, but we were always just a moment too late. Then we tried to buy a vacant lot to build a house. Again, we always came in second. Eventually, we tore down our house and built a new one on the existing lot. Now, I said, I don't know why we did that. Now I understand, because now we've since sold that house for a nice profit, so I can retire. It all worked. And probably if we'd bought another house, the profit wouldn't have been as much. So you just never know. Sometimes you just have to figure out. Another time, during the Great Recession, it's like 2006, I believe, I lost my job. My wife told me not to worry. I would be employed by my old company, but with a new name. I couldn't rest waiting for that. So I applied for many jobs and had numerous interviews. Again, I always seem to come up second. Of course, it happened just like my wife said. I was rehired by the company with a new name, which laid me off in the first place. So as you become in touch with the spirit world, you begin to see the patterns. You'll be able to detect when to move ahead, when to stop, and when to be patient and wait for a sign. Now, am I perfect in that? No, I still get like frustrated and I don't know what I should be doing. But then your solution is to go forward and just do what don't be passive, still be aggressive, but always follow your conscience, right? You can't go wrong if you follow your conscience. If you get nervous or upset or you feel bad that you're doing something wrong, don't, right? and then you'll be directed. So what that tells us is we're in the place where we need to be. As long as we follow our conscience and we in our free will and we start helping people, if we start engaging in the habit of service, which requires a person to be at ease and confident within themselves, right? If you're not comfortable with yourself, it's hard for you to help other people in a good, rational, kind manner. In outlook of the world, the people and our individual part to play must be in tune with the Spiritist message of our purpose on this planet. One should realize that each of us is a grain of sand in the immense oceans of the universe, that we are being polished by the movement of events, and that we are always in contact with other grains and the clear and shining liquid of the divine light. By right placement of ourselves, we can look at those around us and proceed with our acknowledged duty. The Spirit Joanna in the book Self-Discovery and Inner Search speaks about the frame of reference desired to promote self-sacrifice. This is what she says. Psychological maturation drives human beings to true humility before life. They might then identify their own possibilities as well as the inexhaustible sources of knowledge to be acquired. Mature individuals perceive their smallness before the universal greatness. They are devoid of conflicts, guilty consciousness, and escapes of the ego. The intellectual view of reality and the moral acquisition of inner resources provide them with simplicity in the heart and cultural respect towards everyone. Their lucidity works for the general goodness with naturality, leading them to self-sacrifice and even to sacrifice whatever necessary without exhibitionism or arrogance. They realize that the purpose of the existential being is the joy of living that results from meriting thoughts and actions, that propels their self-esteem and constant self-discovery. They work without either fatigue or deception. They do not stop in drudgery to examine imperfections because they elaborate plans for their incessant improvement. They are thirsty for new conquests that do not cease. Self-sacrifice prompts the individuals to sacrificial actions, which, despite its heavy and less magnificent features, one performs without either embarrassment or boastfulness. Self-sacrifice and humility are independent of religious convictions, although the latter ones can influence their conquests by becoming accessible to all that achieve self-consciousness. The two psychological conquests are of high importance in the progress of society because they dignify the individual and promote the social group by making it more human. So what is she telling us? Humility and self-sacrifice could be the definition of what it takes to truly serve others without condescension or arrogance. The tearing down of one's own ego is a complex and arduous effort. The culture of immediate gratification and celebrity examples of amazingly self-centered individuals who have an almost complete lack of self-awareness that pervades the media are high barriers to complete this journey of self-sacrifices. The forces of materialism and self-promoting seems to be almost at a zenith. Of course, probably everyone always says about the culture at the time, but the world has been at this spot before. The spirit realm has always created a solution. The answer lies in the collective spirit of mankind. Even now, in the face of unprecedented and rapid communication, there is a sense of emptiness, a longing for spiritual renewal. I hear it all the time. I see it on sites that just talk about spirituality, not necessarily spiritual, but spirituality, and people who do not, consider organized religion to be their answer. I totally understand that. They talk about it too. There is a longing of the rejection of complete materialism. You even see that in the youth of today. They know that there's something missing. So while the extremely wealthy foresee a future of total control over a docile population whose only desire is to be entertained and to consume, the waves of change will not be held back. I have news for these people who want everyone just to sit back, do what they're told, consume, work till they can buy. That will not be the future. The effort to retreat to a simpler life, the quest for closeness to nature, and desire to do no harm are all small signs that a change is coming. While still nascent, the spirit realm, who controls the rebirth of every soul into whatever time, place, social strata, and eventual position of power that is planned for them, will gradually move our society to a more rational balance of technology and spirituality. So let's think about that, what I just said. The spirit realm has guided the earth from the beginning, from primitive, beings on this planet to successive civilizations. Now, I'm sure a lot of people say, oh, we're still just as cruel and mean as before. Well, not as many of us. No. In fact, there's been studies done where they've gone through old burial grounds. They say, about, 2,000 years ago, about 25% of the people who are in these burial grounds were killed. It's a lot less now. Here we'll die of, old age or maybe an accident or something, but not anywhere is a higher percentage of people who are actually killed, right? There's, stab wounds or axe, whatever. They can find these through the bones. No, people have gotten better. More and, the greater percentage of people who are nicer and more mature spirits, because we are a set of spirits. There's always new ones coming in from other planets, but basically there's a core of spirits that are learning as we are going. And every life, or maybe, every 10th life, they notch up a bit to become a little bit more mature. Now, think about that for a second. You're the spirit world. You can place these people who are more mature wherever you want. It's a chessboard where if your chess piece is taken off the board, you can put it back on the board wherever you want. And the reason we have so much chaos and what you think of and I think of how we're ever going to succeed is because they can move us around. We're immortal. We're all immortal. They can move us around. They can we'll put Brian here in this next life, and he can help. He's not very good, but at least he can help these two people, right? That's the least he can do. They can do that on a scale that you cannot imagine. So think about that. And message from my spirits have talked about that the whole human race has gone on a journey towards materialism. But we are slow. We've reached the zenith of that. And now we're going to start going back towards balancing material and spirituality, right? Because we can't all just give away everything, right? And the reason we've had to go through a period of very vast materialism is we have had to do technological progress. It all comes in hand, right? We're not Luddites here where we want to get rid of, anything. We need to continually improve our technology, but at the same time, balance that with spirituality, right? Technology isn't just to make better weapons. It's to help people, right? So what I'm trying to say is in the meantime, while we're going through this, each of us should continue on our inner journey of improvement. Emmanuel advises us to fortify ourselves for the battle ahead. This is what he says. In order to be effective for the eternal life, nourishment for the heart has to be based on the simple realities of the evolutionary path. It is crucial for us to strengthen ourselves with the illuminative principles without the dazzling fantasies that come from the outside. And it is precisely on this religious path that such effort demands broader refinement. Generally speaking, believers are always eager for situations that can satisfy their pernicious whims, just like a gourmet yearns for exotic dishes. However, just as the delights of the table are not necessary for fundamental activities, the thrilling sensation of spirit phenomenon are useless to the soul if it does not possess sufficient inner resources to understand their purpose. Many disciples regard their religious experience as a purely intellectual matter. Well, I've been there. But it is crucial to realize that in order to be definitely incorporated, the nourishment of the soul requires a heart that is sincerely interested in the divine truths. When individuals assume this inner attitude, they truly strengthen themselves for sublimation. They realize that there is such an abundance of useful work material around them that they place any temporary sensation on the lowest rungs of the evolutionary ladder. Therefore, what's he saying? As you explore the depths of your character and your journey advances, you shall become closer to divine truth and the spirits who have come to assist you. You will expand your relationship with them. But as Emmanuel cautions us, communications with the spirits only really begin to pay spiritual dividends as your own spiritual knowledge and feelings come to fruition. This dynamic comes naturally as one moves to the plateau where self-sacrifice and humility melds into one's character. When this is achieved, a calmness and serenity envelops you, an inner peace that is hard to be disturbed by external events, which becomes the norm and not the exception in your daily life. And I can attest to that. I still get stressed. Yes, I'm not perfect and I'm not calm and cool under all sorts of situations, but I have improved so much more by understanding when things come at me, there's a purpose. And when I fail, I don't beat myself up too much. I do as Joanna Downs says, well, consider when you do something wrong, it's an arrow you took out the quiver and you threw it away and it's gone, right? Analyze what you did wrong and try to improve. And of course, and I fail constantly, but I just little by little, it takes years and years. You will improve. And the first thing is, get with your thoughts, get your thoughts under control, not just your speech. That's the easy part. Is just keep your mouth shut. The harder part is to rewire this brain. And when you rewire this brain, this physical brain, it connects via the paraspirit to your spiritual brain, and you are changing. You're doing what you are here on earth to do, and that is you're modifying your personality, because that is what we take with us, right? When you die, when you get rid of this physical, you are the same person. You're the same personality as when you were on earth. So if you were a nice, good person and you had a good sense of humor, you're the same. If you were not a very nice person and you were mad at everybody, you are the same. And that's when you go to places that are other people like you. But the more you can modify your personality, you can start thinking good thoughts and use your consciousness to filter for anything that's negative, that you like bad gossip about someone or as I used to do, walk the streets of a city and see the, what I used to think bums, right? And now I know they're poor souls going through hard trials that may not have been too successful. Instead of thinking, oh, they should be wiped off the face of the earth, like I've said before, now I think, oh my God, I try to say a little prayer for them, God bless you, I hope you do better. That's how you start changing your attitude and your character to make yourself a better personality. Okay. Anyway, I want to thank everyone. Again, this is my book, How to Live Inner Peace Through Spiritism, that I've been talking about for the last, more than a few months. Please share this video to other people on Facebook. Please tell people to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have a link to that on my nwspiritism.com. It's right on the right-hand side, or my BitChute channel, where I also post all these videos. And my YouTube BitChute channels post all my videos. These videos I talk about on every Sunday night. Thank you. Very welcome. Every Sunday night. And then also I post shorter videos, and some of the videos actually been translated into Portuguese by this wonderful woman in Brazil. I post those. Again, I also remind everybody at the the last day of March, which is a Sunday, I won't have this program. I will take probably maybe a weekend or 2 or 3. I'm not quite sure, because I am, as I said before, I am moving. So it might just be a little hiatus there till I get everything organized and get the internet up and everything in place. So I want to bless everyone again. Thank you. Please, spread the word, help people, not aggressively, but if they open a door, please talk to them about Spiritism. If you don't have a Spiritist site in your area, open one, right? I talked to this one person, Sergio, who is in Florida, but he says, you have volunteers, they have people help, people are not close to a Spiritist site. And I said, yes, I'd be happy to volunteer after I'm, resettled. And I thought it was a great idea, something that I hadn't thought of. And so there's all these people doing wonderful things to help us spread Spiritism. And I know it's not easy, because Spiritism Spiritism doesn't tell us, like, a lot of the spirituality says is that, you are what you think, and God forgives all. And and those things are true. They're true. But it's Spiritism tells you there are repercussions to your actions. Karma is real. And therefore, if you're not a nice person, you won't go to a nice place until you learn to become a nicer person, until you want to become a nicer person. And those things, people don't like the negative aspects. The other aspects is we're watched. Everything we're constantly evaluated. Our minds throw out information all the time, just like a cell phone. People don't like that either. I don't blame them. Who does? Who wants to have to live with the repercussions of your bad actions, right? No one, unless you're mature and think, oh, yes, I have a lot to learn. You have to get to that point. You have to get to the point where, okay, I understand. I have a lot to learn. I'm not perfect. And only now do I realize how stupid I am, right? That's like, I feel like at least I've gotten to the point where I recognize how ignorant I really am. And therefore, it's not easy. And I don't blame anyone for not being ready for Spiritism. But help as you can, guide them. If they're ready for this message, other spirits or guardian angels will help expand them and open doors for them. So anyway, I want to say God bless everyone. Thank you for another wonderful Sunday night. Of course, we're here every Sunday night. And remember, tell everyone about Spiritism. Share this video. Share my NW Spiritism site. And if you have any questions, like other people do, you can always email me. Contact me. You can contact me on my NW Spiritism site. Send me an email or make a comment on one of my YouTube videos. I usually answer the comments, unless somehow I pass them by or forget it. It would be my fault. But usually I try to be very good in answering everything. Anyway, God bless you and thank you, and have a wonderful rest of the weekend. God bless you. Oh, and thank you, Matthew. Thanks very much.